All right, for my project, I looked at the board game Risk, and I used simulations, full games to generate the data, and rudimentary reinforcement learning methods to actually improve on behaviors and provide the analysis that I'm providing. The first thing I had to do was I had to take the board game Risk and change it over to something that made sense mathematically. So I laid a grid over the countries, and I turned the countries into nodes, which you can see on the bottom. For the simulation, I created a graph or a visual display that showed countries fighting each other. The colors represent different players. The numbers represent the number of troops on that territory. And then the nodes are proportional to the number of troops, just to make it easier to see where a lot of the action is happening in the game. The first thing we had to do to figure out what was going on in the game is actually analyze the battles. When two players have countries next to each other, one player on their turn can move their troops into the other player's country, and they fight by rolling the dice. They get one die per troop, up to a maximum of 3 dice for the attacker and 2 dice for the defender. The tie goes to the defender. So the teal color is the defender having 2 dice, and on the x-axis is the number of attack dice. So you can see on the far right of the teal, at 3 attacker dice and 2 defender dice, the attacker has an advantage. They have a kill ratio of 1.18. So 1.18 of the defender's troops are taken for every 1 of the attackers. So in big battles, this plays out. This is a simulation of a 50-50, 50 versus 50 battle. And this is the distribution of survivors after that battle. So red is the attackers and white is the defenders. So if you look at the far left of this graph on 0, you can see that for a 50 versus 50 battle, 75% of the time, the defender is left with 0 troops at the end of the battle. But for small battles, the fact that the attacker loses dice as they lose troops actually tilts an even number of troops to the defender's advantage. And this is more prominent the lower the number is, but at 5 versus 5, it's actually better to be the attacker again. So 5 versus 5 and up is to the attacker's advantage. All right, so what I did was I simulated full games. I did 5-player games. 4 of those players were generated randomly, and 1 player was a test player where I tracked all their statistics. I did 100 times, played 100 times through for each of the behaviors. I had 30 different behaviors. So it's 3,000 data points total, and I tracked their wins, losses, turns to win, and turns until eliminated. And then I compared the strategies. And with simulations, you can make the data IID, which is a rare thing that is really cool for a data scientist. All right, so the best strategies, and I categorize these by code, is choosing Africa and as for the territory selection, focusing on Africa, and then once all the countries in Africa are taken, choosing a strategy that limits the number of neighbors for your nodes for the remaining picks. And then for the troop placement strategy, it's actually random. And this isn't completely random. It's random to start at the beginning of the game. And then when you have reinforcements, it's random on your border territories. And this was actually surprising for me because this is a strategy I have never personally played, but in a 5-player game, it wins 49% of the time against people who play randomly. Worst strategies are connecting, basically just connecting all your territories, and that's your priority over anything else. And then having an aggressive strategy for troop placement. Equally bad was going for Asia first, and then having a defensive strategy for troop placement. And both those went at about 4%, when 20% is the what it would be if all the players won equally. All right, so aggregating over the territory selections, the Pacific Islands are generally the best one to go for, and then Africa, and then not worrying about a continent and being an isolationist is the next best strategy. For troop placement, random was actually the best for troop placement. And I think the reason why this is for both the defensive and aggressive strategies, where the action's not taking place, they'll only leave one troop on a country. And since reinforcements are placed at the beginning of a turn and then attacks are made, this can leave a lot of their fronts a little more vulnerable, where they're kind of optimizing the big battles. So I can actually think a little bit more and create better strategies than the defensive and aggressive. So they're more nuanced, and they'll beat this this kind of random plus strategy, random with a little bit of thought in it. All right, the feature steps, I want to set up pure reinforcement framework for the game. So not worry about strategies, just basically assign a point system for incentives that are tracked over time as the game is playing, which will be harder to analyze, but at the same time, it'll create really cool. It'll create the best possible strategies over enough time. I also want to create more strategies and then come up with some evolutionary algorithms with more research to actually see those play out. And then I need to optimize the speed for large games, and I can do stuff. Yeah, there's a suggestion to optimize it there. And then I want to put this model online so people can enter the strategy they play and the strategy their friends play and see what their chance of winning is. And that's all I have. And thank you for your time.